how do you pronounce your, or what is your last name?
Kline, very easy.
Kline.
Kale.
All right.
All right.
I used to say, how do you pronounce if I didn't know the names? And they're like,
But Marcine is pretty ezy too.
Marcine, like they're like Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, Smith. Yeah, thank God it is easy, actually. Easy to
Marcine
remember.
Kline.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And an escrow agent is your title, or what is your?
Yeah, I'm a senior escrow officer, and I manage a branch of Glen Oaks Escrow in Sherman Oaks, California.
Okay, I'll let Whit do it because
yeah,
it's all foreign to me.
Okay.
All right, Jared, we're gonna
ready?
meet on. Let's go on Facebook.
Yeah. All right, let's
Facebook
do
Live.
This. Okay, and then I'm admitting everybody. Okay, everybody's ready.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert with the Martin Eiden team. This is the 4th Thursday of July, so it's the Whit Prouty show today. And I'm very excited to learn a lot about what an escrow agent does. And we have Marcine here to help us out. So Whit, I'll take it away and I'll be your sidekick and laugh at all the funny jokes.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I can use that. I appreciate it.
Yes!
All right. Here we go. So, real estate transactions, Martin, are different in every state. And so, and even with in different regions within states. So today, my guest for Ask the Expert is Marcine Kline. And she is a senior escrow officer with Glen Oaks Escrow. And we're going to get her to talk about what is escrow, this mysterious thing in a real estate transaction in California. So welcome, Marcine.
Thanks, Whit. Nice to be here this morning.
Fantastic. I've known you for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I really value your professionalism, expertise, your knowledge. Hence the Ask the Expert thing today.
Thank you.
Can you tell our audience maybe a little bit about yourself and your history as well.
Okay, so I have been in the escrow industry actually 43 years this summer. Yeah, since 1977 when I was a kid. Yeah, and kind of crazy. And I started my career in Beverly Hills and ultimately moved back to the Valley in 1980. I owned my own escrow company, which was licensed by, in those days, Department of Corporations. Now we're all licensed by Department of Business Oversight. And I owned that for 10 years. And I feel very blessed to work for a very, very amazing company in California that's very forward thinking. We're quite large with a lot of branches, stretching from Valencia, California, all the way down to San Diego. Actually, we just added a branch in Antelope Valley, which for those of you that don't know where that is the far reaches of LA County, the very, very northern part of our county. So we have great management people, a great team of people that have gone out of their way to make sure all of us are doing great during this very challenging time we've been experiencing everywhere, especially in our regions. It's interesting to see the transformation of what's going on in our areas as well. And at this point in my career, I'm a big specialist with attorneys. I handle a lot of probate matters of all kinds and reverse mortgages, which are very different than the regular mortgage type, and a lot of residential resale. That's primarily my focus. It's all about real estate.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to segue into the mysteries of escrow. So I wanted to start off with something very boring, but actually, so that then we can talk about.
Well, this is the right show, Whit.
Yeah, no, wait. Listen, there's a method to my madness.
All right.
So let's talk about what the definition of escrow is, according to the California Department of Real Estate, section 17003 of the California Financial Code. And here it goes. Escrow means any transaction wherein one person, for the purpose of effecting the sale, transfer, encumbering, or leasing of real or personal property to another person, delivers any written instrument, money, evidence, title to real or personal property or other thing of value to a third person to be held by such third person until the happening of a specific event or performance of a prescribed condition, when it is then to be delivered by such third person to a grantee, guarantor, promisee, promisor, obligor, obligé, bailee, bailor, and any other agent of an employee of that latter. God, that is a lot of wording and very boring. So
it is.
Let's ask our escrow.
I think it was one sentence.
Ask our expert, Marcine. What's escrow?
So what escrow is for us is the process of handling transactions, real estate-based transactions. Our company does not handle the personal property ones, but the ones where title insurance is involved. And we handle real estate transactions where we are the middle party fiduciary between a buyer and a seller. And in general, buyers and sellers all have representations, which are real estate agents, in some cases attorneys, but that's not popular in California at all or necessary, because we have like amazing contract docs, both commercially and for the residential venue.
Right, great. So why is escrow important?
Well, for us, we are managing, we kind of live and die by all the dates that are set forth in contracts, and we help people stay on time. So, and we process our escrows based on the date that they're going to close. So we have a certain beginning, middle, end to the whole process. And we handle, of course, all the money. We handle all the legal documents. We're the preparers of all those things. And all the little nuances in between. LA City Limits has some really unique specialty things with retrofitting and pre-sale transfer on sale reports, just a lot of nuances. There's a lot of things to keep track of. And we're the ones that do it and keep everybody on time to make it all happen, basically.
And from a real estate agent perspective, I'm going to throw in, you are the neutral third party in a transaction, which is real important for us. And also the fact that you do coordinate the money, you coordinate with title, you coordinate with everybody. You're the clearinghouse, essentially, making sure that all the pieces of the fit so that we can actually get to
and
close,
we try to make it all happen
really
timely, so that there's a long chain to that train to make it all happen, because we're also interfacing with lenders. Lender teams have gotten very complex. There's often 5 people on a team. We're dealing with insurance companies. Insurance here, because of the fires, have been very complicated. So there's a lot of add-ons that are behind the scenes that we're working on all the time to make sure these things are happening in a timely manner, because our contracts have very specific dates in which actions have to occur, like inspections, like approval of reports, et cetera, like an appraisal, like when somebody applies for a loan and the final contingency for the loan is up. So we're keeping track. We're helping keep track of all that. The agents are supposed to have like a punch list, so they know when those things are starting to expire.
Yeah, real important.
So I have a question, Marcine. So does the buyer give you the money and you give the money to the seller, or you just hold on to the deposit, or how does that work?
That's a great question. Actually, in Southern California especially, we do all the money. So we will ask for what we call an earnest money deposit, EMD. We'll ask for the deposit. The deposit is traditionally held in escrow. 98% of the deposits come in by wire nowadays. They never used to, but they do nowadays. And then the final funds to close the escrow come to me. The lender always funds to the title company, and they've always done that traditionally. So they've always funded to title. Title pays off the mortgages if there are any, and then they net wire me the difference after they pay their fees. We have transfer taxes here. I assume you have some version of that. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. So they pay all the recording fees and the transfer tax and their title insurance fees. And then they give me the balance, and I then set the file up, balance it, pay all the vendors in my transaction, and then net fund the seller their money. So I'm paying commissions, insurance, et cetera, and
all that. And you also are the point person for making sure that the insurance coverage is the right insurance and amount for the mortgage, or is that the home or the buyer does that, or who does that?
Buyer needs to arrange their coverages, but the lender actually will dictate, Martin, what the coverages need to look like, what the amount is. And we have a lot of replacement cost guarantee. I mean, probably things like in New York City proper, not Brooklyn, but in like New York City proper, it's not it would be very different. You just get an HO6 policy to cover your contents versus something that covers the entire property, or like your property, your grounds, a pool, possibly a guest house, something like that. So
Okay.
Some of this we've got some pretty kind of step through
Detailed
questions as well.
No, that's great. No, I
Will.
was just trying to get a perspective on it. And so a lot of the stuff that you're doing is what the attorneys do here in New York. So you take away, or, you cover a lot of the things that they do. And I was just trying to get a perspective for myself and our New York listeners.
Great.
All right, Whit. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're going to see California transactions because attorneys are usually not involved with them. There's a breakup of those duties between real estate agents and escrow. So exactly.
Got it.
Let's go back to who can actually provide escrow services in California.
Okay, great question. So there's basically three main venues. One is an independently licensed escrow company, and that would be what we fall under. We're licensed by the Department of Business Oversight. So we're licensed by the state of California. Everyone has to go through a DOJ check because we actually handle a lot of money. Millions and millions of dollars are flowing through our accounts. And that's on the independently licensed side. The next is we have a lot of real estate companies here that have what they call a broker-owned division, where they're operating under a specific broker's license, and they can only handle transactions for agents inside their brokerage. We're very different from that because we're doing a lot of transactions all over. And then last is our title insurance companies. They're not real coveted for escrow processes here, but they are licensed under the Department of Insurance. They have a small division, usually clerks that are processing paperwork. A lot of the high liability commercial deals are going through there, but most other types of transactions are really handled by escrow companies.
Right. Sounds good. Okay. Hey, so who's escrow holder?
Also a great question. So
that was going to be one of my questions, Whit. Sorry.
Hey.
No, that's good.
But I shut up because I always know. Sorry to interrupt, but Whit is so prepared for these all the time. So I just love it. I was like, who covers what? All right, go ahead.
I have a whole list of questions to bring us through the conversation, Martin.
Yeah, in other words, just relax and listen.
Yeah. Okay. So escrow, like everything, is a point of negotiation. I mean, quite honestly, in a market like we're in, generally the listing agent is going to be the referrer. I personally have clients that are sellers or buyers who often will request me through their listing agents, or I have attorneys who will insist that we are requested or someone is requested. But since both the buyer and seller pay, they both could request escrow, and it's just a matter at that point of who negotiates what.
Absolutely. Everything is always a negotiation and a contract, so nothing's set in stone. But yes, there are customary ways that things are done, but just because they're customary doesn't mean they're going to happen. So yeah, you just actually did touch on it as well too. Who pays the escrow fee then as well?
So while escrow fees, as per local custom, buyer and seller each usually pay their own fees, which vary a little bit, but not the base fee. That would be based on the sales price. It could be negotiated, and I have a deal right now that's closing today where the buyer or seller would pay all the fees, but that's not real common in LA County, basically. So everybody pays their own fees, which is fair. And seller
they do have separate fees. That's also kind of the point. There are separate buyer fees, there are separate seller fees, but then who pays? There
really are. And also sellers have an obligation here to pay title insurance, which an owner's policy is a lot more expensive than an Alta concurrent policy if somebody's buying a home and getting a loan, for example. So it's sort of a broad brush, but everybody does pay their own fees per the local custom based on area.
Great. And so when we hear that escrow opens, what does that actually mean?
So when escrow opens, basically our CAR, California Association of Realtor Contracts, are very, very super binding. And the date that the final signature is on there is technically the date that you have a valid transaction. However, for me personally, I feel a transaction is really ratified when I have the deposit. It's the first sign of good faith. And that comes in between 1 and 3 business days from the opening of escrow. And then really escrow is officially opened from our perspective, where we're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff in the first 3 days, but escrow is opened when that deposit arrives in our account.
Right. And so there can be a difference there. And I will point out to our audience, though, that once you have both signatures on the contract, that's actually the date of acceptance.
Right.
And that is what our dates for contingency periods and closing actually run from. They do not run from when escrow opens and deposit is received. It's from date of signature. So that's kind of an important thing.
What is the standard deposit amount?
3%.
3%
on regular transactions.
Yeah, okay. And that is based, that number is specifically based to a liquidated damages paragraph that we have in our California Association of Realtors contract. And so liquidated damages limits the amount of liability that you can go after a party for in our contracts if it's signed.
If it's initialed.
If it's initialed, yeah. If it's as long as it's initialed, and usually all parties initial it. Again, usually. There certainly are times when it's not, but that's what our deposit is based on.
Right.
Okay.
That's the tie-in. Talk to us a little bit about the role of the escrow officer. We've kind of gotten bits and pieces, but you certainly have other staff that works with you and all that kind of stuff. So can you give us an idea of your role?
Yeah, from our perspective, we are truly Switzerland. We're in the middle and we're collaborating with a lot of different partners during our day. I would say an average residential resale escrow, there's 350 emails, just communications between the lender and ourselves. So I always have one lead assistant and myself on any given transaction, and the lead handles everything involving the loan because it's sort of an escrow. It's a very large transaction inside a real estate transaction, and it's gotten more complex as the years have gone by. So it's critical that the communications are really sterile between just the team at the lender and my team. I'm handling more complicated things. For example, if there are hiccups or nuances in a transaction that need to get addressed, if there are attorneys involved because there's a dispute of some sort, I get involved in that, and I basically will talk to buyers and sellers and the real estate agents as needed. And then I set up the transactional work timeline so things are done within a certain period of time based on the needs of each transaction individually.
You're really like the quarterback.
Yeah, I am the quarterback.
On the team. Yeah, absolutely.
The neutral quarterback.
The neutral quarterback. Yes, yes. The neutral quarterback.
We're going to have 2 teams with the same quarterback.
No. Yeah, actually, you're right. Bad analogy,
no,
sorry.
It's okay.
Lately, I'm more like air traffic control.
That's a good one.
That's better.
That's a good one.
I love it. Yes, you are air traffic control. Yes, perfect. Oh boy. Okay. So you also kind of touched on as well, and I want to get to this. What are some of the types of transactions that go through escrow? And you mentioned a little bit about some of your specialties.
Right. So from an independent licensed company such as ours, we're dealing strictly in the real estate world, which means anything that's title insurable. So, we're handling obviously residential real estate, apartments, commercial. We also handle refi transactions of different kinds. We do hard money, we do reverse, we're doing regular mortgages. There's a lot of nuances to the theme. I get a lot of referrals for different things that I don't do. The sale of a business is escrowed. Holding money and distributing it, that's escrowed. We have a specialist in our company that does mobile homes and businesses. That's not my wheelhouse. and I don't take on what I can't manage and do a great job for people on. And on personal property transactional work, I have an attorney escrow officer I refer to in South Bay. So, you know, I like to be able to be the hub for people to have referral sources within and outside my company.
Okay. So people have heard of escrow instructions, and what are escrow instructions?
Well, nowadays, escrow instructions are strictly a supplement to the contract that you were talking about. They don't have a lot of content in terms of, all the content is inside your residential or residential income purchase agreements or probate purchase agreements, but we attach our 10 or 11 pages of boilerplate instructions, which go along with what our responsibilities are, and if we do run into a hiccup or a dispute, how that's handled within the escrow framework.
Okay, so this can be a very detailed question, but maybe let's see if we can just simplify it a little bit. And can you give us what are the typical steps that happen in escrow from open to close?
You know, I've been giving this question a lot of thought. I think that at the very beginning of the escrow, information provided to the escrow people you're working with is just the key to having the best experience, not just for the agents, but for the clients. Whit, I need to give you a shameless plug here because my staff, by the way, my staff loves working with you. You are one of maybe 3 agents that will give all the detail I need in the very opening email attached with a contract. And you would be surprised. It's really basic stuff, Martin. You would be surprised, but a lot of people cannot pull it together to just give the minimum. And
the address, price.
Thank you. Well, those things are actually on the contract, but like, how about contact information so I can send wire instructions to the buyer? Where not telling us that the seller doesn't actually live on the property, but not giving us any information. There's a lot of that goes on, and it's unfortunate because then what we're doing at the very, very opening of escrow is sending out probably 20 different emails back and forth, trying to just get information, get transaction up. But what I find is when the information, a lot of it is up front like that, the escrow is so much more seamless. If there's an HOA, which is Homeowners Association, for those of you that aren't familiar with condo projects, like we like to know all that up front. And our companies, if you're not doing it pre-sale, these management companies charge some pretty hefty rush fees. So we like to try and get a lot of that stuff done in advance if we can, but at least get the information to us at the opening of the escrow so we have the ability to really process the escrow smoothly. So broken in steps, the first step is we open the title, we get a prelim search, we have natural hazards disclosures here, there are another form of reports, we get that done. We confirm commission, we confirm all the buyer and seller information. I mean, really boring stuff, but this is all the stuff we need to do just to get somebody's escrow off the ground. We are essentially paperless. I'm actually guilty of being less paper, not quite paperless, but truly all the information for these clients should be in the system. And if it's not, we don't have any way to reach them when it comes time to, for example, signing loan docs in the very end of the deal. The middle of the transaction is processing and following up on documents that have gone out. So we have a litany in California of documents that go out to buyers and sellers that are absolutely crucial to the process. So when I don't get a seller or buyer package back, I don't have enough information from them to actually do my job and process the escrow to take it to the next level. So we're constantly sort of bugging people and their agents to make sure these things are done timely. We resend things often if we're doing it electronically. And the processing in the middle is the key to getting all these things done timely. And then if I don't feel warm and fuzzy about where we are with the loan, about 10 business days out, we start asking the lender, are you releasing a closing disclosure? Where are you with that? 10 business days, or 10 days out rather, not even 10 business days. 10 days out is 2 weekends. So that's eliminate 4 days there. We're down to 6. And then you're down to the day it closes, which is, we're going to talk about probably in a few minutes, but that is the day after a loan funds. And then we have to get loan docs insurance. There's sort of like a very huge rush at the very end to collaborate. A lot of people and a lot of information to get it done timely.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process.
Great. So there are some documents that do need to be notarized. So what are your typical documents that have to be notarized so people know what they can expect?
So this is really important to us and has gotten essentially more important over the last several years. The grant deed or any quitclaim deeds, we use those in California, would need to be notarized. But one of the other big protections we take for security reasons is notarizing proceeds forms. We never used to do that. We just acted a lot on trust and faith of these clients, but unfortunately, the criminal element and hacking and the protocols other people are working in, we're in a very secure protocol, but real estate agents aren't. So what we found is that a lot of the hacking, because you sort of advertise yourself out there, you've got signs, you're in the MLS, you guys are everywhere. I assume that's sort of universal all over the US, but you guys are our prime target, and what they look at is who you're dealing with. So they get your information, they have my information, your client's information, and hacking is so scary for us. And we make people call in now just to give a deposit, and we give them the speech like, we're not going to change any information, and we're not asking you for any more money during the escrow till we're ready to close. So that's a key document nowadays that gets notarized along with deeds.
Great. Okay, so prorations. Typically what comes up in an escrow is clients ask, well, who's paying for what, and taxes and this and HOA fees or whatever. Talk to us a little bit about proration and what's typically prorated.
So property taxes are always prorated between the parties. Our tax year here for property taxes in California is fiscal. I don't know if everybody's is universally, but ours is fiscal. It's a very confusing process because our tax year just started for the 2021 tax year. It just started July 1st and it ends June 30th of next year. So property taxes are prorated because our bills are sent out in late September, beginning of October. We have 11 million people in LA County, so there's an 8-month lag on average, and who knows with COVID if it's going to even be longer for bills to go out to the new assessed owner. So there's a lot of nuances there.
I'm going to jump in and say, okay, so is there anything else that's typically prorated as well too?
Yeah.
And let's just go to the specifics on those things, because I have a couple more questions on it.
Okay, cool. Condo dues, HOA fees are prorated, paid in advance, and also rent, if we're in a residential income, or a rent back between a buyer and seller can often be prorated.
Absolutely. Okay. Talk to us about the difference between the words funding and recording, because oftentimes people don't understand that either.
Right. We also deal with a lot of out-of-state lenders. So in many, many areas, you can fund and close on the same day, but in California, it's gotten virtually impossible. Some counties, yes. LA County, very unwieldy, very large. Funding the loan happens on one day. So if it was July 1st, you would fund on the 1st.
So the money comes into you, it funds.
The money comes into the title company and it funds the loan for the buyer. And then on July 2nd, the escrow is technically closed where you could actually move in.
Right. So then we get the title company confirms recording with the assessor's office. And then you have a closed property, correct?
Right. It's actually with the Hall of Records.
Thank you.
Down in Norwalk, and we have a few smattering of other offices, but the Hall of Records has also been closed to the public since March 13th.
Okay,
so
real fast, because I've got 2 more questions I really want to get in, and we're getting down to our 30 minutes here.
Okay.
So what's a closing statement?
Okay, the closing statement is a compilation of all the fees incurred throughout the process. Buyers and sellers will get a final closing statement at the close of escrow. Your accountants will need that in the following year to handle.
I was just going to say, do I keep my closing statement? Because do I need it in the future?
Yeah, you should always be keeping those kind of documents no matter what until the house is sold. But you should be turning that over to your CPA for tax purposes.
Great. And how long is the typical escrow in SoCal?
Ideally, 30 to 45 days. Some are a little faster. We don't like those very much right now, but they are, or they can be. But a 30 to 45 day escrow gives everybody enough time to coordinate movers, inspections, the whole bit.
And one last thing, since we're in California real fast, is there a difference between the way that escrows are conducted in Southern California and Northern California? Because I talked about areas before.
Yeah, ironically, Southern California is all escrow based. We have a very strong escrow association down here. But you start going more north toward the Santa Barbara area, which is just north of us, throughout the state. And they do have escrow divisions, but it's very driven by title companies. And it's inside the title company. It's not necessarily an independently licensed company.
Fantastic. That was great. Martin?
Yeah, we got it all done. There? Now I'm ready. No, this is great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So another episode of Ask the Expert. Thank you, Whit and Marcine. And Whit, you want to do the sign off?
Marcine, you were great. We appreciate it. Another, just like Martin said, another one wrapped up. Lots of information. Jared actually will be providing, for people that are watching this, he'll get contact information up on the YouTube and wherever our postings are with this video for the future. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same channel for another Ask the Expert with the Martin Eiden team.
Thank you guys both for having me. Thank you so much.
Take care. It's good seeing you guys.
Good to see you.